Good morning. So many of you know, for the last few weeks we've been looking at the series of conversations that Jesus had. And this morning, it works, the conversation is what Jesus had with the woman at the well. And what we'll do this morning is we'll read through the passage step by step together. But if you've got your Bibles, you might want to get it ready, and it's in John chapter 4. Now there's many different lessons and things that we can pick out from this chapter. But today we're just going to look at a couple of things that struck me afresh while I was preparing. Now, Robbie, perhaps you could help me. Would that be all right?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. You could just... It marks the spot there. That's okay. Thank you. So, there's a few things that we need to keep in mind this morning. Firstly, this passage is about a conversation that Jesus had with a woman. And secondly, this woman was a Samaritan. So let's remember that this morning. She was a Samaritan woman. We need to know this because Jews didn't really associate with Samaritans. And women, well, they just weren't important enough to associate with, were they? They seemed to be overlooked. And yet Jesus here is talking with a Samaritan woman. Jesus is sitting by the well in a place called Samaria. And a woman comes over to the well to draw water. So let's pick up the reading at verse 7. Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" His disciples had gone into town to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew, and I'm a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?"
Sorry, do you need me?
No, just not yet. Now we have to understand the culture. In turn, we realise that this woman, she must have been in complete shock. Now I wonder, myself, what shocked her more? Was it the fact that this was a Jew talking to a Samaritan? Or was it the fact that this was a man coming up and starting a conversation with a woman? So I think that both things together must have led to a double shock for this woman. But for me, it's something that's really hard to relate to, because I can't imagine somebody not really wanting to speak to me because I'm a woman, and I can't imagine somebody not wanting to speak to me because I'm a Christian from Inverness. So it's something that's hard for us to relate to. But let's read on and hear Jesus' response to her. So picking up verse 10. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it was that asked you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." "Sir," the woman said, "you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well and drank from it himself, as also did his sons and his livestock?" Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water, welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water."
Sorry to interject again, but do you need me?
No, not yet. So now Jesus, he's not only having a conversation with this woman, Jesus now starts to teach her. Now this really, it wasn't the done thing. Teaching a woman. So I've discovered that in New Testament times, studying the scriptures was regarded as extremely important for men. Women, however, not allowed to study the scriptures, the sacred texts. Rabbi Elzer, and I hope I pronounced his name correctly, a first century teacher, is noted for saying, "Rather should the word of the Torah be burned than entrusted to a woman." I think that's quite shocking. But here we have Jesus breaking that culture and that religious nonsense, and sitting with a woman, a Samaritan woman at that. Jesus is breaking the cultural divide and telling her that she is important to him. And this morning, you are important to Jesus. So Jesus continues with the conversation, picking up at verse 16. He told her, "Go, call your husband and come back." "I have no husband," she replied. Jesus said to her, "You are right when you say that you have no husband. The fact is, you have had 5 husbands, and the man that you have now is not your husband. What you have said is quite true." "Sir," the woman said, "I can see that you're a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is in Jerusalem."
Sorry. Do you need me?
Not yet. Now, this morning I have to be totally honest with you all. I have made a discovery whilst preparing for this and reading over a few times. And I'm putting myself out here so that you all might see actually really how naive I am or have been. But here goes. You'll forgive me. In my mind's eye, this woman, she is a total stunner. She's the sort of woman that men look at and go, "Caw." A bit like myself, eh? And I always thought that this woman, well, that she was quite naughty. And that Jesus here is having a conversation and he's given her into a wee bit of trouble for all her many relationships and her lots of wrong choices. I mean, who here hasn't made the wrong choice or two? I'm sure we all have. Well, I've made plenty. And I always thought that Jesus was getting like a wee highlighter and kind of highlighting a few of her mistakes, and then she had to kind of say, "Sorry, Jesus," and he would forgive her for being so naughty. See, told you, a bit naive. Perhaps I'm not the only one that thought like that. It wasn't until I looked into how women were treated in the New Testament that I realised just how awful it must have been for women in those days. I mean, did you know that men could legally divorce a woman for almost any reason, simply by handing her a writ of divorce? A woman, however, she could not divorce her husband. In fact, it was virtually impossible for a woman to divorce her husband. And I began to feel really bad and really sorry for this woman. I felt really awful for the way I'd been thinking about her. She'd been married 5 times. That could have been 5 rejections. That could have been 5 men telling her she's worthless. 1 minute she's wanted, and I'm presuming here as well that they could have promised her lots of things. And then it was fleeting, because then she was rejected, dumped, being made to feel worthless, being told over and over again by each of her husbands that she's of no use or no value. And even now, the man that she's with doesn't want to marry her. He doesn't value her enough to put the ring on her finger. I commit to her. Another rejection.
Sorry. Do you need me?
Actually, I don't need you at all.
Aww.
You know, when we hear something over and over and over again, we begin to believe it. Being rejected so many times must have just been awful. And I'm sure we've all felt rejection in the past, and perhaps today you might be feeling rejection. Jesus is not calling her out here on what she's done and highlighting her mistakes. Jesus is saying, I understand. I know. I know what you've been through. I'm not rejecting you. I am genuinely interested in you, and I want to connect with you. Now, I'm sure you've realised that having Robbie standing here was actually just to make a wee bit of a point. He left feeling not needed, feeling rejected. And if you're feeling rejected this morning, Jesus is saying the same thing to you too. Jesus is saying, I understand. I know. I know what you've been through. I'm not rejecting you. I am genuinely interested in you, and I want to connect with you. Let's continue reading from verse 21. Woman, Jesus replied, believe me, a time is coming when you will worship the Father, neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. Yet a time is coming, and has now come, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in the Spirit and in truth, for they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. God is Spirit, and his worshippers must worship in the Spirit and in truth. The woman said, I know the Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. Then Jesus declared, I, the one speaking to you, I am he. Just then his disciples returned and were surprised to find him talking with a woman. But no one asked, what do you want? Or, why are you talking with her? Jesus teaching her, he's saying, I value you. Despite all that you've been through, all that you've done, all that's been done to you, you may be a Samaritan, you may be a woman, but I love you, and I want you to worship me. Initially, when Jesus started talking with the woman, she was perhaps ashamed, offended, very uncertain, and maybe started to push him away with her opening remarks. But Jesus wasn't really asking for a drink, was he? Perhaps in the relationships that she had, she was looking for fulfillment, looking for acceptance, looking for love, looking for appreciation, looking for value. And we all today, we crave these things too, don't we? But she was looking in the wrong places. Are we looking in the right place? You know, in today's society, we're on our mobile phones so much, aren't we? We're on our tablets, on our laptops. Oh, look at this now. Did he like my Instagram? Did they comment on my Facebook post? Who's following me? Oh, I put something up and nobody's liked it. They've not liked what I put down. Why is so-and-so? They've not texted me back. I can see on WhatsApp they've read it, but they've not replied. X, Y, and Z. I didn't get a Christmas card from them this year. Have I been stroked off their list? Why have I been stroked off their list? Do you know that Bobby? I saw him in the town and he just walked right past me. He blanked me, completely blanked me. Thirsty. Does that quench your thirst? Maybe if somebody likes your post, it might for a minute. Not for long, though. Very quickly, we're thirsty again and again and again. Jesus told this woman if she kept drinking this water, she would continue to be thirsty. And if we put our value in what other people think, we'll continue to be thirsty too. People may indeed reject us for many different reasons, but that's their reasons. We don't know people's circumstances. The important thing that we must remember is that our value must be in God and who He says that we are.
Amen.
He will always be there, and He will never reject us. Never reject us. The disciples returning to see Jesus talking to this Samaritan woman, I wonder what went through their minds. I don't know about you. But I really think here that Jesus is demonstrating to His disciples how to connect with people. He is showing by example, and we too must follow His example. Jesus came to connect with everyone. This woman had a need, and Jesus met her need. This morning, do you have a need? I know that Jesus can meet your need, and all you need to do is reach out and have a conversation with Him too. This woman, she was rejected by men. She was chosen by God. And you too are chosen by God. You are who He says that you are. Amen.
Amen.